sequels to my life entirely up to me. Slowly suffocating, do you notice how it feels? That baby, can you hold me while I'm running through a field like...
At the end of the day, I am a winner. I want to be a winner. What matters at the end of the day, it's where that thing right there. That's what matters, you know. But as long as we play and we approach the game every single day the right way, and we all sacrifice for a common goal, I can see myself being in Milwaukee Bucks for the rest of my career. But the moment I feel like people are not committed as I am to get that golden pin in the back, I am not.
All right, man. So Giannis has finally, and big emphasis on finally, been traded. Like 20 hours ago, all we heard was Boston being heavy favorites to actually...
I think the Celtics are so fucking dumb for not going through with this trade. Essentially, I think it was probably Jaylen Brown and some other players, and I think the Bucks wanted them to add like Hugo Gonzalez or Baylor. And that was the turning point for the Celtics to say, all right, actually, we're not going to go through with this trade, which is just fucking stupid. Just absolutely stupid. Hugo Gonzalez, I think, was like the 30th pick or like the 28th pick in the draft. He didn't get a PT. It's just absolute stupidness. Another aspect that I want to talk about is the fact that the Celtics, to me, if Giannis was on the Celtics with that floor spacing, that team would be fucking crazy. On top of that, I know the Celtics won in 2024. I know I've done this with a couple teams, like the Bucks. But the Bucks and Celtics are in very similar situations. The Celtics won in a year where the first round, I think they went against the Heat. Jimmy was injured. They went against the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell was injured. I think Garland was injured. Some crazy shit. Like, I think 4 of their starting 5 was like injured. Then conference finals, Halliburton was injured. Finals, Luka was in there with a strained hamstring. And that's the whole thing that made them niggas go and trade him, because they're like, yo, this nigga can't stay healthy. He's overweight, whatever. The Celtics went on that run and went to the finals and went against fully injured niggas. So it convinced them that they're the championship team that like, yo, let's just run it back. Whenever they go against a team that is competent, maybe not even better than them, just like even close to them, JB and JT underperform. JT to me actually underperforms more than JB. If you really go through like the list and the niggas they've played, 2020 they lost to the Heat. I think 2022, they lost to the Warriors in the finals. All of these, they were favorites. 2023, they lost to the Heat again. 2024, that's when they won when everyone was injured. 2025, that same team that niggas were like, oh, it's a championship team. Niggas were comparing to the 73-9 Warriors. Lost in the second round to the fucking Knicks. And don't say JT got injured, because the nigga, before he got injured, they were about to go down 3-1. Then this year, they choke a 3-1. This team, they underperform under pressure. They're stupid as fuck for not getting Giannis in this situation.
Land Giannis in the package around Jaylen Brown. According to some reports, Boston wasn't willing to get rid of some of their young pieces, more specifically their young rookie standout Hugo Gonzalez, and Miami actually won the sweepstakes. Now the full trade details, if you haven't seen it already. Miami gets Giannis and Bobby Portis, and Milwaukee gets Tyler Hero, who's from Milwaukee, Khalil Ware.
This is an insane, bro. They give up their fucking roster. Gave up the whole roster. Bro, I don't think this trade's as crazy as niggas think. Bobby Portis will be a good 6-man, but bro, aside from that,
Casper Jakachunas, 3 first-round picks, including that 13.
By the way, this is an amazing trade for the Bucks. You fully maximize Giannis' trade value. Like, what more could you have wanted? You get 3 picks and a pick swap and a second round. You get like 2 young players, and you get Tyler Hero, who they're for sure going to flip for more assets. So either more picks or another young player. So amazing trade for the Bucks. For the Heat, you absolutely gutted your roster. I don't know how they're even going to fill out this roster to contend. And you have to remember, after next season, Giannis has only 1 year in. It's a player option, so he could just choose to leave.
Pick tonight in a loaded draft, a pick swap, and a second-round pick. Now, I'm gonna be honest. When I first woke up and seen it, because I did wake up to this news like at 4 a.m. Eastern time, I was a bit underwhelmed. Mainly because, like I said, like 20 hours ago, according to all reports, it was going to be Boston, and that was way more of a needle mover, at least next year for me. Now for Miami, before I get into a more pessimistic tone regarding this trade, I do want to give them some credit. First of all, it's hard to speak negatively about any team getting a top 3, top 4 talent in the middle of its prime, and Giannis is still that. Do I have some concerns about Giannis's health long term, especially considering his recent past? Sure. Giannis has only played 70 games once in the last 4 years, and the one time he did, he ultimately got hurt for the playoffs. I haven't seen Giannis in like May in what feels like a long ass time. But regardless of any of that,
That's not him. The Bucks were sitting him because they didn't want the nigga to get injured. This is my problem with the Heat and Pat Riley. I'm gonna get to this after because I don't want to go on a tangent. I'm gonna get to it after.
The floor. He still has an argument for the best player in the world.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple. Also, I want to give Pat Riley credit because in this century, Pat Riley has landed Shaq, LeBron,
It's old shit. We'll get to this after.
Jimmy Butler, and now Giannis. I've critiqued Pat Riley a lot in the past for this dinosaurus approach where it seems like he's allergic to acquiring any type of real new talent. In just this decade, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, so many players have seemed to be available, specifically when they had a championship
And they didn't do shit.
type of team, and it seemed like all they could land was a Kyle Lowry or Victor Oladipo. So again, kudos to Miami for that, because they did bring a lot of buzz to a city that seems to be starving, not more so for results, but just that S-tier talent. Now, the reason I'm a bit pessimistic about this move for Miami, and more so Giannis, it's the expectations that comes along with trading for a guy like Giannis, what Giannis has said in the past about wanting to contend for a championship right now, and I'm sorry, how unrealistic that seems to be right now with the roster they currently have.
You just gutted your fucking roster, nigga. You just gutted your roster. Norman Powell's gone, by the way. They're not getting back Norman Powell. That would have been a good piece to keep. Pause. You have Wiggins. Decent. You really need a guard, right? Norman Powell's gone. Their roster is fucking gutted, gang.
I think Bam is a very, very useful player on a specific type of team, but on this team, I just don't love this contract.
Yeah, and the fit. The fit to me, I don't think I agree with the fit.
On this team that now has Giannis and brought over Bobby Portis, having Bam, who's a great defender, being able to switch on guards and protect the rim at an adequate level, roams, all that great stuff, but offensively has a clear ceiling and doesn't really complement Giannis's game, and that duo is going to be making over $100 million next year of your $209 million hard cap. That doesn't really scare me as far as really being a championship threat, even in the East. I'm making a video about the worst contracts in the NBA that's coming out probably tomorrow. And I'm gonna be honest, Bam was close to being on that list. For as valuable as he's been for that team, being an undersized big in this league who struggles to finish at the rim, and he doesn't really stretch the floor well, next to Giannis feels clunky. Last year, Bam shot 68% at the rim, which is below average, but he is undersized. And he also shot 31% from deep. So when I see the graphics of these two guys being your main two guys, it just feels underwhelming, and it doesn't really feel like it fits that well. I do expect their defense to be fantastic, now having Giannis and Bam in that front court, and they still have one of the best point of attack defenders.
Defense will not be an issue. My thing with the Heat and the Heat organization as a whole is I don't think Giannis is going to like it there. This front office is so fucking like stuck up. This front office is fucking toxic, nigga. I don't mean toxic. They're just so like stubborn, like an old nigga. With D-Wade, when D-Wade went there, right? When D-Wade was there, the reason D-Wade left and went to the Bulls is because this front office said, fuck you, nigga. Your agent, even though you're one of the niggas who was holding us down and you're the reason for all of our finals appearances, which I'll get to the Jimmy ones after. All of them, including the Jimmy ones, they're like, nigga, we're not going to give you a contract. We're not going to give you a proper contract. Go somewhere else and get paid. To their hometown, the best player in their franchise history. Imagine if the Warriors did that to Steph. Imagine if the Spurs did that to Tim. Imagine if the Mavs did that to Dirk. Like, that's the shit that they did to D-Wade. D-Wade leaves, go to the Bulls, whatever. He ends up coming back and they end on good terms. Jimmy's in free agency. Him and D-Wade were close from the Bulls when they played together. Jimmy talks to D-Wade during his free agency, and D-Wade's opinion on the Heat is a major factor for Jimmy going there. Jimmy goes there. They're like, all right, we're going to get you some talent, do whatever, right? Jimmy exceeds expectations. His first year there brings them to the fucking finals, and it's 2 games, takes the Lakers to 6. Dragic was injured, Bam was injured, Tyler Hero was a rookie. Took the Lakers to fucking 6. They don't re-sign, they don't go out and sign, no one do no trade for, no one do nothing. This is 2019-2020 era, right? 2-3 years later, 2023, takes them to the finals again. During this period, the Heat still haven't got nobody to place beside him. No one. The nigga gets frustrated, right? Going back, some niggas were like, oh, well, they signed Kyle Lowry, his homie. He did not convince some niggas to sign Kyle Lowry to like a 3-year $90 million. At the time, it made sense because Kyle Lowry was he was like 36, still playing amazing. Still playing at a high level. Like, he was one of the niggas who was weird. Like, he started getting better as he aged. So they happened to sign him. He had like been an all-star like the year before. So they signed him to that out of their own will, because you're not going to convince the Heat to give no nigga a contract. Not even Jimmy could convince them to give him a contract. D Wade couldn't convince them to give him a contract. So you think Jimmy Butler fucking convinced them niggas to give Kyle Lowry a fucking $90 million contract? You're smoking dick. After that, they did the same shit they did to D Wade to Jimmy. Towards the end of his run there, he was like, yo, all right, so y'all niggas didn't get no talent around me. Y'all niggas not getting no talent. We've been making the finals consistently. Y'all haven't done shit for me. At least give me a max. Like, at least give me a contract. Or not a max. Just at least give me a good contract. Them niggas said, no, nigga, go find it. Go somewhere else and have another team pay you. And he said, bet. Jimmy got so much hate for that. But he pretty much said, yo, nigga, I'm not playing. Trade me now. And he held all the leverage. Instead of them trying to bitch him, like they had D-Wade and how they did other people, he flipped the roles with them. Let's see what free agents were available during, or who was traded and moved during that time. To put it into perspective for you, when Jimmy first went to the fucking Heat, James Harden was still on the fucking Rockets. KD was still on the Warriors. From the point when Jimmy had went there and took them to the finals. This is how much niggas have been moved. Let's see. Kyrie got traded. KD got traded. KD got traded multiple times. He went to the Nets, traded to the Suns, traded to the Rockets. He didn't do shit. Kyrie got traded to the Mavs. Drew Holiday got traded twice. Damian Lillard got traded. DeJounte Murray got traded twice. Gobert got traded. Donovan Mitchell got traded. Who else got traded? Harden got traded 3 times. DeRozan, I think, signed somewhere else. PG got traded. Or signed somewhere else. Porzingis got traded twice. Jarrett Allen got traded. Van Vliet signed somewhere else. Siakam got traded. OG got traded. Cat got traded. Mikal Bridges got traded twice. Julius Randle got traded. Brunson signed elsewhere. I think Derek White got traded. So Bonus got traded. Marketing got traded twice. RJ Barrett got traded. Chris Paul got traded twice. During that period, those niggas didn't get a single person. These niggas were in a championship fucking window, nigga. These niggas were in a fucking championship window. They didn't do nothing. What do you think Pat Riley did during that whole sphere where them niggas made 2 finals and made, I think, 4 conference finals in that 4-year span? Or they made like 3 conference finals in that 4-year span that Jimmy was there. Do you think he went and signed someone? Traded for someone? No. The first thing Pat Riley did was the last playoff run Jimmy had there. The nigga went to the media and told the nigga to shut the fuck up. Because he was sitting out injured. That's what that nigga did. He didn't do a trade. He didn't do nothing productive. The first thing he does in half a decade is go to the media and tell his star player who's been carrying them to the fucking finals to shut the fuck up. So, I say all that to say, these niggas just went to go and trade for fucking Giannis. What does it do? Giannis can leave after next season. He has a player option. They gutted their whole roster. This is some shit you should have been... I'm not even saying been done, but you could have at least did a move for KD while Jimmy was cooking with niggas. You could have did this while you have a championship window. They waited so long and they're so fucking stubborn in their ways. I don't see this trade really doing... their roster is gutted. I don't see them doing anything. They're going to fill it out. What type of talent are you going to do to fill out this roster with? I'm sorry to go on a tangent,
but in the playoffs, you will need those perimeter players that can hit big, timely shots. And I don't know how that roster favors that. The 2 players that I feel like could have actually done those type of things for Miami is likely to be gone. Tyler Hero was obviously a part of the package. Norman Powell struggled after the All-Star break last year, but before that, he was lights out, and he's likely going to be gone. Andrew Wiggins, now on that team, has to take a friendly long-term deal. Miami also has this bad other contract that just seems to be in the way now with Nikola Jovic that starts next year. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of their point guard situation. Davion Mitchell did have a pretty efficient year last year, but if their spacing is challenged like it probably will be, can you really rely on a defensive specialist to actually create quality looks consistently for that team? No. Now, they do have their mid-level exception where they're probably going to target some type of spacing. I'm seeing Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, Quentin Grimes, maybe Colin Sexton.
Malik Beasley's a good option. Still, they have no guard. Like, what is this team like? They need.
Seeing Chris Middleton now linked to that team, but all of it just doesn't seem like it's enough for as big of a trade as it is.
Norman's gone. Norman is gone. I'm telling you. Like, I feel like niggas are gonna, like, I think it said the Pistons were looking into getting Norman Powell. If you're the Pistons, you throw a bag at you need another nigga who could who can score for you. So Norman Powell is actually an amazing fit with the Pistons. Yeah.
For as great as Giannis has been, even in the past, he has not been able to carry mediocrity even in the East. Right now, that roster looks very much so mediocre. Now, to be fair, we do have to see how exactly they fill out the rest of this roster. But for Miami, and for a team that has Giannis, who needs spacing, the majority of their shooters last year are going to be gone. Giannis has thrived best with bigs that space the floor, and they still do have Bobby Portis, but Giannis's other extremely highly paid co-star doesn't really complement that. I will say this, kind of going back to the beginning of this video, one of the biggest positives, at least for Miami to me, is the fact that they seem to have possibly stolen Giannis from Boston, another one of their biggest Eastern Conference contenders.
Now, how do you went to Boston, nigga? With that spacing on that team?
And what that might have done to Boston. Look, man, I don't know how many more times you can dangle Jaylen Brown around like he's a nobody. After making the NBA Finals, they did it with Kevin Durant in 2022. Now Jaylen Brown is way more decorated, signed this massive contract that some people scratch their heads about, and since won a Finals MVP.
You can call me crazy all you want. I move on from JT before I move on from Jaylen Brown, bro. And I know that sounds crazy. Niggas are like, oh, da, da, da. One's coming off an Achilles injury, and to me, in those moments when in the playoffs, when shit gets hectic, I think JB outperforms this nigga. Like, I've seen Tatum fold under pressure way too much. I think they both have fold under pressure, but I think Jason Tatum just does it to a higher extent than him.
Team looked absolutely decimated by injuries and players leaving, basically led them to the second seed. Regardless of how it ended in the first round, truly was an MVP candidate for the majority of the year. And after all of that, he still seems like the quickest bait for any real superstar in the league to me. I don't really know how Boston smoothly proceeds after that, because that is odd and disrespectful. Really quickly for Milwaukee side, I mean, when you wait this long to trade Giannis, this is the best package you're going to receive.
You got a lot.
Yes, we can look at the Rudy Gobert trade and the Mikal Bridges trade and how many picks were given for those guys, but I do like them getting 3 first-round picks, 3 valuable players where one player can actually be flipped for more picks, Tyler Hero, a pick swap, and just away from all the Giannis drama. For Miami, again, when they got Shaq, they won a championship. Obviously, Bron won championships. Jimmy Butler,
like, for example, Jimmy was brought there because of D-Wade. LeBron and Bosh because of D-Wade. All Pat Riley did, nigga, for real, was get that old Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, and then got Shaq. Old Shaq. That's all, bro.
At least went to the finals. Now getting Giannis, I'm just not that confident with that roster. If you guys like
the big trade that everybody has been anticipating over the last year or some change is completed. Giannis is on a move, and unlike what many people, including myself, originally thought he was going to land out in Boston, he finds himself playing with the Miami Heat alongside his teammate Bobby Portis. And in return, the Bucks receive Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Yakachunas, 3 first-round picks, a pick swap, and a second-rounder. Wowzers, this is a lot. Now, I'm not going to try to bore you with a bunch of details because I'm pretty sure you've already been keeping up with this timeline with Giannis and the Bucks, but just briefly, the Bucks won a championship. Chris Middleton wasn't the same after that, so they needed more offense. They traded Jrue Holiday for Damian Lillard, as well as a bunch of draft capital. Dame and Giannis wasn't as good as a fit as many people originally anticipated. They fired not only 1, but 2 head coaches, and then eventually Doc Rivers, he retired. And here we are now, where an organization that tried to piece things together at the last minute thought that Miles Turner, an addition of Miles Turner after stretching Damian Lillard, was going to save the relationship or potentially salvage what was left of a championship roster.
I don't think they believe that. I just think they didn't have any other choice, to be honest.
A handful of years ago. Obviously, Giannis, a top 5 player, one of the greatest I've ever seen, didn't want to spend the latter half of his prime playing for a roster that could not compete. So he teased and played around for a few months talking about how he wanted to stay, but really wanted to compete, but still want to be in Milwaukee, but don't want to play with the Bucks. It was disgusting. And then bada boom, bada bang, we finally got a transaction that in all honesty, we should have got at the deadline. I'm going to just keep it a beat with you. But with all that out of the way, I have to say, going right into the winners and losers, the Milwaukee Bucks, this is a pretty good haul. I was surprised that they got this many young players as well well as draft capital. Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez, and Yakichunas, all of which are under the age of 25. Then you got 3 first-round picks, one of which is this year's 13th overall selection, that if the Bucks, they get a little antsy, they can actually pair that pick with the 10th overall selection that they already have to move up in the draft. But if not, 3 picks with 3 young players, again, was not anticipating it, especially when we realized what was on the table from other organizations. And then you have Tyler Hero. Now, a lot of people I've seen are concerned about Hero because
he's not staying there. They're moving him. This is an amazing package if you're Milwaukee.
yes, he is over the age of 25. Yes, he has availability problems because he's only had 3 seasons in his career where he's played over 60 games, one of which where he's only played over 70 games. And yes, he's on an expiring deal at $33 million. All of those things are red flags for an organization that's clearly trying to hit the restart button. But 2 things to keep in mind. A, under this new CBA, you have to spend money. And once all the dust settles and we see what the roster looks like once everyone is moved, more than likely it's Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma are the only 2 players left on this roster that are going to get paid over $10 to $15 million. Everybody else on this roster is still under their rookie contracts. And there is a real possibility, especially with the addition of Khalil Ware, that Miles Turner won't be on this team anymore either. So the Bucks have to spend money, and giving Tyler Hero the extension that he's looking for may be the best option. The other thing that could happen is that Hero could be redirected to another team, in which then the Bucks can receive even more assets in return.
They're moving him. I say they move him and they move Miles Turner for assets. I think a team like the Lakers are desperate for a center right now.
There were already rumors that Hero was going to be traded to the Detroit Pistons before this transaction got done. Detroit being desperate for some type of offensive talent to put around Cade, because boy, was that really bad to watch during the playoffs. And the player that was going to be moved to free up some of that cap space was going to be Isaiah Stewart. He's making around $15 million a year with a team option at the end of his contract. And if the Bucks ended up with Isaiah Stewart, I don't really think that's the worst thing in the world, especially if a draft pick comes along with it as well. So all of those things are positive. But the biggest reason why I really like this package for the Bucks is because all of these players are movable. They all have some type of identifiable value that multiple teams will be able to trade for if necessary. And so if things go sour, like with Khalil Ware, and maybe Eric Spoelstra is right. And so if things go sour and you need to move him, another team will more than likely give you a 2nd round pick or even a 1st for Khalil Ware and figure out if they can roll the dice on him and get more out of him than you were able to in Milwaukee or even out in Miami. And so that right there is the biggest reason why I really like this for the Bucks, because a lot of other organizations could not say the same. Atlanta, you held on to Zachary Ricochet way too.
I don't know why they hung on to Zachary Ricochet. I don't know why they did that. Because even going into that draft, people were calling it like the weakest draft of all time. Like, I don't know why they did that.
Long. Portland, nobody didn't really want the Jeremy Grant special. Nobody didn't want that, right? And so now these are very movable, palatable, very young pieces that you can continue to build on forward. And I didn't think they were going to get this much out of Miami. And then we have the Miami Heat. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think way too many people are reading into the flaws in the pairing of Giannis and Bam Adebayo. Let's get something clear. Offensively, sure, there are some concerns, understandably so. But defensively, we're talking about a front court that more than likely will feature Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The versatility, the switchability, the roaming, the rim protection, the intangible.
They're gonna be great. They have no guard play though. Norman Powell's gone. They don't, and I don't have faith in their floor spacing at all either. Giannis needs to be around floor spacers. It's just that plain and simple. I don't even think that they're gonna be able to go through this offseason and go through this unless and get I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see them getting floor spacers and a good guard, point guard and shit. I don't think so. Then after this season, if Giannis is still frustrated, remember he has a player option.
That you really want on the defensive side of the floor. These are all
after next season. After that, I think one more season he has a fucking player option at the end of that.
All things that will elevate this team just naturally. And then you have Davion Mitchell, who more than likely will be inserted into the starting 5 as an excellent point of attack defender. I just think defensively alone, this team is going to not only win a lot of games, but be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. And the reason why I believe this is so important is because looking at what is getting built for a lot of teams in the NBA, teams are going out there, stretching out the floor, making you defend all 5 positions on the perimeter, constantly switching, rotating, closing out, having that level of versatility for a team like the Knicks, for a team like the Boston Celtics.
And that is true, but they don't have floor spacing, bro.
Also having players that can punish you inside, so you can't just go small, while also having one of the greatest drivers and finishers in NBA history in Giannis, who can punish smaller lineups if the opposing team decides to space the floor out the way in which they normally do. And so that's what I really like out of this team. And so when it comes to the offensive side of the floor, there are concerns, and be honest with you, Bam last year with his 3-point shooting in that experiment didn't really work out. Also, Giannis, I have to say, raised some eyebrows and some concerns that when Damian Lillard was out in Milwaukee, the fit wasn't wasn't the greatest, and partially because you weren't the greatest screen setter, so there's that. And even though, yes, Giannis has really developed as an offensive player over the past 2 years, where he has grown offensively, I don't know, post up with Giannis, with Bam around the elbow, trying to throw him the ball with some high and low action. Like, it sounds cool in practice, but then in the postseason, I'm pretty sure most teams will live with Bam Adebayo shooting elbow jumpers or even three-pointers. So I really and truly don't know how this spacing is going to work. But if there is one coach that I am willing to bet my bottom dollar to figure this out, Eric Spoelstra is easily one of them. Last year in Miami, they were the epitome of pace and space. They were the fastest team in the NBA. Three-point shooters got up their shots. Slashers, they ate up any space that was given to them in transition, and they were in constant rotation in terms of their half-court offense. Now, do I believe they're going to run that exact same offense with Giannis? More than likely not, except for transition play, getting out there, getting easy buckets, especially if the defense can get some stops. That certainly will be a catalyst.
What did they do with that roster, though? Like, hold on. Like, that's cool and all. What did that roster do? Because the Heat were not a bad team, but I don't even think they made the fucking playoffs. Maybe they did. They're the 10th seed. Like, that's Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Wiggins, Bam, and Kel Ware. Like, that's not a bad roster. They didn't even make the fucking playoffs.
Of their offense. But the reason why I highlighted Miami's offensive scheme last year is because it has been completely different from what Eric Spoelstra normally runs. Last year is the first time in Eric Spoelstra's career where he coached the Miami Heat to an above league average pace. The second time where Miami wasn't a bottom.
Like, if you think about it, okay, you have Bam, Scott. Like, if you really think about it, how different is that makeup from a team like the Raptors or a team like the Sixers last year? And B didn't even play like that. They had a better record than them. Magic, Franz Wagner barely played. They had a better record than them. I feel like we're putting too much faith in, like, Spo's gonna figure it out, you know? I understand Giannis is better than them niggas, but it's still too many holes in the team.
So that's crazy. Also, getting the most out of supporting cast members, in particular with the three-point shooting, is something that I love to see a lot of coaches do. I know people kill Joe Mazzulla for the three-point shooting, but at the end of the day, if you lack talent on the roster, being able to get the most out of some of those supporting cast members with three-point shooting is necessary. And also, Miami, they're not completely done yet. They still have some trade exceptions. They have some contracts that they need to maneuver around with. Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell, they need to be addressed, but that could give them some financial flexibility until they have to give them their new deals as well. All I'm going to say is don't judge a book by its cover, especially when the book ain't even done writing it yet. But yes, Miami still has a lot of work to do offensively. Love to see more floor spacers. Definitely love to see me some 4-5 PNR, even some 5-4 PNR. Man, I love to see what they got for us with a Bam and Giannis pick and roll. Love to see that. And if there is one coach that would be able to figure this out, Eric Spoelstra is definitely the man. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the NBA? I cannot lie to you. I have known a little bit about what's going on with the whole Giannis situation because of some ties I have here in Atlanta and also some ties that I know in Milwaukee as well. I'm going to just say this. I'm going to keep it short, sweet, simple. First of all, another big winner is the rest of the league. If Giannis found himself playing with the Boston Celtics with that level of floor spacing and playing alongside Jason Tatum, being coached by Joe Mazzulla, I sincerely do not know what we would have done. I actually think that is
That's what I was telling you. They would have been fucked.
Far
the Celtics
great
fucking sold.
Offensive system for Giannis to thrive in, while also being around really good defensive pieces. I just don't know. I don't know what we would have done. But the fact that didn't happen is great. Now, for my Boston fans and Atlanta fans and even Portland fans as well, you are going to hate what I have to say next. Bro, Boston deciding not to pull the trigger because they didn't want to include Hugo and Baylor Shireman is crazy. To my Atlanta fans, I know many of you all killed me in the comment section at the deadline, rightfully so because Anthony Davis, he did get hurt, but the idea of moving off of Zachary Ricochet for AD, the reason why I talked about it is because it was in discussion. Zachary Ricochet being moved is something that they were attempting to do, but didn't want to pull the trigger. And here we are now, and they waited so long, and from my speculations, especially based off of what I know, Zachary Ricochet is not moving the needle. Dangling we got Kuminga and Zachary Ricochet with the 8th overall pick, that's not enough. It's just not enough. And so now you screwed yourself, right? You sat there and you waited too long. You're stuck with Ricochet moving forward. You don't know what you're going to do Kuminga because the Warriors couldn't get nothing out of him. I don't know if y'all are going to get anything out of him. And if you are the Boston Celtics, there is just absolutely no way that you believe that things should just be smoothly, easy peasy after not only once, but now the second time you've attempted to trade Jaylen Brown off of the back of a season where he has led this team to overachieving to the heights of being the second best record in the East.
And I feel like if you're Jaylen Brown, you're either out of there or you're looking for as much money possible.
In conference, albeit knocked out in the first round, but they weren't supposed to be in the playoffs in the first place. The fact that he cannot get any level of security, and I get it, it's Giannis. But personally, if I was Jaylen Brown, I would be looking at everybody a little bit sideways because if you didn't want me for KD, now you don't want me for Giannis, another year or two, I'm going to be asking for a super max contract extension. So we're really going to figure out if you really do want me, or are you just making the most of any opportunity that presents yourself? And I have a hunch, just a little hunch, that JB might not be receiving the type of money that I do believe believe he rightfully deserves.
Gonna
Maybe
be out
things
of there.
change, it's a long runway, but Boston fans, I have to say, Hugo and Baylor Scheinman would not have been enough for me to say no to potentially adding Giannis to
You would think they were like top 5 picks or something.
that roster. Absolutely not. And if you were an
Like I know Hugo was like what, the 28th pick?
Atlanta Hawks fan, Trey Murphy is probably going to be your best bet because Zachary Ricochet, he's not
me
moving
check
the
Baylor.
needle. Y'all got enough draft capital, 8th overall pick. Speed up the process out there because they're clearly ready with some of those young players. Get a lot of versatility, flexibility, and far more experience as well. But that's terrible. That
selected
sucks. I can't
30th,
lie.
I think
And
it's
finally,
25.
another big winner are all the teams in the NBA that are looking at the Milwaukee Bucks roster and trying to figure out who's available. Miles Turner, in my opinion, is an immediate name that should be on the chopping block.
I feel like the Lakers, Raptors, y'all need to tap in with
Not
that.
only is he getting paid reasonably well, not even over $30 million as a starting caliber big in the NBA, albeit certainly limited offensively and not the same defender as he's gotten older, but in the right system with the right playmaker, you can really optimize who Miles Turner is. Still a good floor spacer. I do believe if you were the Lakers and you're kind of feeling out the options out there, if Walker Kessler is asking for $30+ million, I do believe that Miles Turner is a suitable option for you. Also, if you are the Lakers or anyone else that's looking for a big, throwing around a draft pick to get Khalil Ware might get the job done. So Milwaukee is now a team that's clearly trying to set ablaze everything. Don't know if Kyle Kuzma has that much leverage in the market, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely another team that has the pieces to kind of move around. Now, with all of the Giannis situation out of the way, we can get into the whole Julius Randle trade, Ayo Dosunmu contract,
Oh my
Trae Young
God, that was
extension,
crazy.
Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant news. It's a lot to talk about, and I do it on my other channel. I did a day.
Okay. By the way, that Julius Randle was pretty much a fucking salary dump. That shit was crazy. We're gonna see what the Timberwolves do, but I don't know. I feel like Anthony Edwards is over there getting frustrated, bro. They're talking about getting Kyrie, which to me is like, Kyrie's what, 34, 35? We don't know what he's gonna look like coming back off of that ACL tear, so. But yeah, shit's crazy.
Something, baby, I like just how you blushing. And maybe we could bust it at the function. Turn nothing to something. Wish you could just see the horrors of my life, my upbringing.